Hello and welcome to Wolves World for the match preview of Wolves versus Spurs tonight, the 27th of December, as our last home game of the year. Firstly, I'd like to start by saying here is my new Christmas present. I couldn't not get this kit. It is going to be iconic and memorable throughout Wolves history for the time we had all the Portuguese players. And for that reason alone, my option for player on the back is João Moutinho. I had to go for João simply because even though he's never really been my favourite player during his time here, there's always been others I've preferred. There is going to be a time when we look back and have to shake our heads and say, wow, we actually had João Moutinho, this wonder kid from 15 years ago on Football Manager who couldn't be signed by anybody, threw this to the second most capped Portuguese player of all time, and he spent his final years probably at Wolverhampton Wanderers. So for that reason, João Moutinho is on my shirt. So, on to today's game. Obviously, we are all aware that at Burnley everything went wrong. The performance was poor, the comments after the game were bizarre, and I think will land Nuno in some trouble. But it started with the formation and the lineup. The team that was sent out there for me was destined for nothing but disappointment that day, which is ultimately what they delivered to us fans. It was a game that was there for the taking and would have meant this game today had no real pressure on it. But as it stands now, I think Wolves are in a position where getting 3 points off either United or Spurs is quite important for me, or even just not losing and picking up 2 points with a draw from each. With that being said, I think I'd like to start with the formation and lineup that Nuno, for me, has no option other than to go with this today. We're going to see, I hope, our back five, so we have the control and the sort of consistency we're used to in how to move the ball and the positions the players will be in. I would like to see Kilman go out and Bolly come back in, because while he's not been at his best, thought Kilman was quite poor last week, which is a shame. But you've got to play your players when you're in a time like Wolves now who are going to do the best for you, and I think Bolly is the one to come back in. Alongside that, I think Semedo, who, while he's not having a good game, and I did call for Hoover through the week, I think this is a game where that left-hand side for Spurs potentially just might need that extra bit of speed, and whether it's a high-level performer or not at the moment, Semedo's got a lot more experience than Hoover, and I think Semedo should probably hold his place there. Other side's got to be Marcel coming back in. If he wasn't fit last week, that's fine. But if he was, that was the first error on the team sheet for me. Marcel, as it stands right now, with Johnny out, is by far our best full-back, wing-back on either side of the pitch and has to play. Moving into the midfield, choices to be made. You'll notice I've gone with Otasowie and I've gone with Moutinho. I do think Moutinho will play regardless, and I think Otasowie will play if Dendoncker is not fit. And in all those options, I think Neves will still find himself on the bench. He's been too inconsistent of late. The highs of Chelsea matched with the lows of Villa and last week at Burnley. I just don't think he's worth the start right now, because Spurs are going to be fast and physical and fit, and that is not something that Neves and Moutinho have in their locker, especially when they're in the positions together. So Otasowie for me, if Dendoncker's not available, which is expected, just to be a physical presence, and it's actually this time to play in centre midfield, none of this false nine nonsense. Moving forward, it has to be Neres and Podence on either side for me. Traore is not doing enough, and even when he does, his style of play right now, without having Jimenez in the team, just isn't what Wolves need. And I think Podence and Neto have got more strings to the ball, a bit less predictable. And while they don't have the blistering pace and physical attributes of Traore, they also score goals. And I think Spurs fans might feel relieved to see Traore on the bench, but I think us Wolves fans know that that probably is the right choice going forward, especially with these contract talks, which I'll get into in another video. But yeah, Podence, Neto, and then it has to be Silva up front. I do think Wolves will reinforce in January with a player that is going to at least challenge Silva, if not challenge Jimenez, potentially with some of the names that are banded around. Again, look out for a video from me coming shortly to discuss 7 options that I think Wolves have in the transfer window. But yeah, for now, Silva's got to play. I think he should play every minute until someone comes in, which they will, and he will do nothing but benefit from that, no matter what the outcome of the Wolves games and scores are. So, Spurs, it's actually a team that you always see on paper, look at and kind of dread a little bit, I think, over our sort of third season now in the Premier League. These are not games that Wolves fans always look forward to. However, there are two games in particular that obviously stand out. One, last season, the 3-2 with Jimenez and his left foot goal to win the game was an absolutely outstanding game of football, one of the best I've witnessed as a Wolves fan. And the other was about this time of year, I think it was a couple of days later, at the London Stadium, when I think it was Costa slid home the winner in a 2-1 game that was just fantastic. So yeah, we've done all right against Spurs in the Premier League, home and away, but I think today will be a slightly different challenge against a much improved Spurs side. Two things I think Spurs will do today. One is I think they will score goals, and that will make them very difficult to beat, because Wolves do not look like anything more than 1, maybe 2 goals is the most we can manage at the moment. I'd love to be wrong, but I think that's the same case today. And secondly, they can and will defend a lead like no one else. Wolves, I called last week, must score the first goal against Burnley. They didn't, and we saw what happened. And today we're playing a team with a manager who is even more well-versed in getting ahead, sitting back and shutting up shop. Remember the Spurs-Arsenal game earlier in the season? Spurs went 2-0 up, and they literally sat back and defended for, I think it was about 60 minutes, knowing that there was no way Arsenal were going to score 2 goals. They could have gone for the jugular, really put some past their North London rivals, but instead they defended. So in a game like Wolves, which to them is meaningless, it's just a chance for 3 points, I think that they will score a goal and sit in, and that is the plan they will come for tonight. That could play into Wolves' hands if they can manage to score first. Wolves being the they there. If Wolves can score first, I do think we could have a very interesting game on our hands. Similar to last week against Burnley, I think Wolves will be desperate to score the first goal. A Mourinho side, away from home against a low-scoring Wolves team, will relish scoring the first goal. And if that happens, Wolves are in for a tough day. The difference between this game and the Burnley game for me, though, is Spurs, like Wolves, will also want to counter-attack. So it's going to be quite hard to see which team will actually dominate possession and who will get a foothold in the game first. I'm calling for quite a cagey first half, unless there's maybe a mistake or a penalty that leads to one of the teams going ahead. And then I do think the second half will open up just naturally a little bit. I think it'll be a low-scoring game. With, at the moment, I can't see anything other than Spurs edging out. It's very hard for me to sit here as a Wolves fan and make these predictions where Wolves are not doing so well. But the last time I did that, I predicted a defeat to Chelsea, and we won in what was an excellent, certainly second half display. And it would be great if we could see a game follow that pattern tonight. But overall, I'd be delighted to take a point away with us. I think everyone should be too. But I do think it'd be a very tough game for us, especially if Spurs score first. So that's all from me about this game tonight. I think the key players for us are again Podence and Neto. I think we need Semedo and Marçal to have good solid games, and I think we need to avoid any kind of mistake or giving like a penalty or dangerous free kick on the edge of the box. If those things can all happen, I do think Wolves have a better chance, but I'm not feeling too positive. So we shall see when I do the match review tomorrow afternoon. So that's all from me today at Wolves World. Please don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Tell your friends. Write some comments. It'd be great to have some interaction with the fans. And look out for a video coming soon on the possible transfer options Wolves have in January. So thank you very much. Bye-bye.